Find the mute. I see it.
Welcome to CppChat. We're excited to be back, and we have a couple of guests, one of which has never been on before. So let me start out by introducing them. But before I do that, I'm obligated to read this week's disclaimer, which is the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the individual guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of CppChat. So welcoming back a guest who has been on the show before, Jason Turner. Jason.
Hey.
Welcome.
Thanks, John.
Remind people about what you do. And
well, I'm an independent contractor. I'm a host of CppCast and C++ Weekly. I speak at conferences and I don't know, develop open source software. And I'm trying to get into training.
Into training, excellent. That's what I need, more competition.
Yeah.
And on the show for the first time, Matthew Godbolt. Matthew, of course, is famous for Compiler Explorer. Matthew, introduce yourself and tell us what you do when you're not doing Compiler Explorer.
Right. Well, yes, as you say, my name's Matt Godbolt, and I've been coding C++ for 20 odd years. I guess I started like my professional career in C++ making computer games for about 10 years. Then I got into C++ tools. Then I got recruited by Google, and then more recently I spent the last 6 years working for a trading company, writing low latency trading applications and stuff. So effectively I've gone back to my roots, whereas I used to try and squeeze as many explosions as you could possibly get onto the screen in 1/60th of a second. Now it's how quickly can I respond to external events and send a buy order to an exchange.
So Matt, what systems did you do game development on? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Was the question which game systems I develop?
I just felt like I should ask. Yeah.
So the first thing I developed for like as a paid job was the PlayStation, like the original PlayStation, and then I did Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, Xbox, the original Xbox, which I would like to say Xbox One, but of course they've completely scuppered us by renaming or naming their new console Xbox One. Xbox 360 stuff, and then yeah, that was about where I faded out. I didn't get to PS3, PS4, and Xbox One, but got through all those. Oh, and PC along the way as well, which is the world's most horrible thing to develop for.
So I don't have a console. I don't follow this. So Xbox came out, and then Microsoft released something after that called Xbox One.
Yes, so effectively, if you want to call them like through the original console would be the first Xbox. That was called Xbox. The second console was called Xbox 360. I feel that they were trying to outdo the PlayStation 2 that was out at the time to try and get like one higher in the digits at the beginning. And then the third console is called the Xbox One, Xbox ONE, which is, of course, totally confusing because Xbox One is the third. And maybe they're taking a leaf out of Lucasfilm's like numbering system there. I don't know, but it's endlessly confusing.
It's like Xbox the prequel or something.
Right. And
so
yeah,
in the industry,
they're very fun things to work on. You get sort of unprecedented access to the lower levels of the hardware. At least you did back in my day when they were a little bit more esoteric hardware. You had the hardware manuals. It was, it's like writing for an embedded system, except it did something super, super cool.
Right. Well, they really want to give you access because they really want performant games. They're less interested in data integrity and issues like that, security and things like that, because they're mostly interested in performance because they're games, right?
Right. Although that has changed, of course, recently. If you spend any time at all looking on for YouTube exploits and things like that, there is so many buffer overruns in games, like save games and things, which allow you to effectively hijack the console to run Linux on it, which seems to be the ultimate end game for any kind of decent console. So there's a lot more thought about that, and there's more virtualization type stuff coming in. And there is also the endless war with like intellectual property of the vendors that provide the chips. So we were very, very fortunate in the Xbox original sort of era that the guys at Microsoft actually got it, and they understood that we needed the access that we would get. And so they kind of went, if you need to know how the hardware works, I know we've just given you D3D and it's called D3D.H, but if you were, for example, to open up D3D.H, and kind of scroll down a bit, you'd probably see, I don't know, just guessing, you'd probably see some pokes to hardware registers that maybe correspond to, I don't know, the things you would like it to do. So maybe you don't have to use that after all. I'm just saying, you know, it was a very like vague thing, because NVIDIA wouldn't release like their underlying opcodes and things, but we could effectively get it working. Oh, it looks like somebody's just shared in the chat that the live stream is not working. Is that? I'm
live, on sorry. That. Why don't you guys chat for a second, and I'm going to see if I can figure out what's going on here.
Perfect.
We compare this to the 80s, where the computer practically came with a full memory map and schematics of the hardware, depending on what you got, expecting you to know to do everything with it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah. To your point. I mean, like, yeah, you'd get your C64 out. You'd have the circuit diagram of the thing, and you'd be able to look at how everything was wired together. And you were expected, in fact, Nate, you'd required to understand a lot of this stuff, which I think I've often thought is a barrier to entry for people trying to do the kind of thing that I do for a living, in terms of it's so hard to get down to the actual bare metal that's there, that's running your code. And, you know, obviously the thing I love most about C++, just trying to sort of steer us into some C++ related concepts, is that
why would we want to do that?
I know it sounds weird. Is that it gives you the power, unlike almost any other language that I'm aware of, to start at the highest like layers of abstraction using all these functional and template trickery at the high end, and you can keep just going down and down and down until you're actually at the bottom end. You're writing almost straight C that you can see how it is going to turn into the assembly instructions that are then going to run on the computer. And that, I think, is very powerful, that there is what's almost a one-to-one mapping all the way up. And in fact, you know, you can break into ASM statements. Like, it actually has primitives to just thunk straight out into assembly if you are very, very brave and know what you're doing.
Generally, not necessarily. Gentlemen, these same. Yeah.
I hate to do this 8 minutes into the show, but I'm not sure what's going on. Although we're clearly live, meaning this is going to be recorded.
Yep.
No one can see it. I can't call it up. The URL says if you go to the URL, it says, you know, the chat will be starting soon.
Yep.
And that's why nobody can see it. I don't know what's going on. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to create a new event, and I will update the website to point to the new event, and we'll just have to start over. And let's see if we can start over 15 after. I'm apologizing. I don't know.
No problem.
You guys are going to have to repeat all the chat you were making about games.
We can do that. That's all right. We can do that probably hours and hours.
So give me a few minutes to set this up. You guys can, you know, chill or whatever. Or why don't you tell the chat room what we're planning, and I'm going to work on making it happen. Okay.
Sounds good to me. All right.
All right. Thank you very much. I guess I should stop broadcasting.